Hello, thank you for tuning in to this week's read. These readings are valid for when you come to them. For the tarot, I'm using Wild Reflections Tarot by Spell. I think I'm saying that right. There's a couple things with it. There is this QR code, I think is what it's called, with some information on it. So feel free to freeze frame on that if you want that information. There's also the website on the back, yspell.com. So if you want to see that, you can freeze frame and get that information if you want it. Yspell, I think, is down over here somewhere. Okay. For the Oracle cards, Wisdom of the Hidden Realms by Colette Baron Reed. I want to say the websites are here in the back. I'm pretty sure there's a Colette Baron Reed website. I don't know if it's at the bottom of that, though. I thought I already had this out. There's the illustrator information there. If you want it, feel free to freeze frame and check out what you would like to see. And then ColetteBaronReed.com. Yeah, it's in the back of the book. There we go. Hopefully that's focusing so you can see it. Okay. And I use dice as well. I use a 22-sided dice. I replaced 22 with 0 for the major arcana. And then I use a 14-sided dice for the minor arcana. And I use a 4-sided dice to choose the element of the minor arcana. Math Art Fun. MathArtFun.com. Hopefully you can see that one too. Through that bag. MathArtFun.com. If you're interested. That's where those dice came from. Okay, with that being said, if you'd like a reading from me, shoot me an email, jamesforastral@gmail.com, james4astral@gmail.com. If you're interested in the donation information, that's below, same email. Thank you very much for watching, and let's get into your reading. Hello, thank you for tuning into this week's read. Hello, Scorpio, thank you for tuning into this week's read. The readings are valid for when you come to them. That being said, what do we have for Scorpio? Why are we already stuttering on it? I mean, conflict card came out, second card. So okay. You got is that death? That's your card. That should be good. That's an interesting version of death, but we'll see. I'll throw it to you in a second. Ooh. Well, they're doubling down on that one, aren't they? A lot going on around you. A lot. So, the Death card in the tarot, in my opinion, it can talk about Scorpio energy. That is your card, yeah. Doesn't have to, though. It can be more of a, this is the end of this. This is ending, this is done, we're not doing this anymore. That type of thing. So, and I have a feeling that's what this is. Because when it comes down, the world and the death card in the same spot, that's not only this is over, this is done. There's no negotiation, just done. Done. Somebody passing away, losing a house, losing a possession, somebody doing something that, there's no turning around. Once you make certain decisions, you can't turn around. It's like when you put the eggs into the cake batter, you can't get those eggs back out. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? That's how this is. This situation has been coming for a while. Did you know? Did you know? Did you have an inkling? Did you have a feeling it was coming? I'm not really thinking. I don't know. I don't think you were against it. I don't think you're against this ending. I don't know if you knew it was coming, though. You might have had some inklings that something wasn't right. Maybe you wanted this to go. Maybe you were ready for this to end. But knowing it was going to, at least the way it did, I'm not really feeling that really was there. You seem to have been very good at doing what you had to do anyway with the situation. no matter if it's here or not, you were stable. So with or without this situation, you were stable is what I'm also getting. Kind of like, I'll make it work, whatever I need to do. Now, I keep feeling like you didn't know this was coming. The Two of Swords in this deck is very curious, because it's usually like, you know, a stalemate or a block or something like that. And this one is showing it like somebody's getting ready to pull this arrow, but they have no idea where it's going to go. It's kind of like, I'm ready to fire, but I don't know where it's going to end up. So it's kind of like, I shouldn't. This is kind of that type of Two of Swords. Like, it's almost like a warning. Like, we shouldn't really move forward just yet. So it's kind of like, all right, maybe you're hunting for a certain animal and you hear it moving around. You might shoot it in the direction. Like, it's not likely you're going to hit it, but you could hit something else and you might not like what you hit. So it's kind of like that type of energy. This is more of a like, it's better to not do anything right now. It's kind of a warning card the way they put it in this deck, in my opinion. So it's up to you. You got to do what you got to do, right? There's a lot of conflict and controversy coming in with this. Staying out of it makes this a lot better for you. The ending is final. The ending is final. There's no going backwards. There's nothing to, like, protect at this point. There's nothing to do with that. What's done is done. What's finished is finished. They're reiterating that. Seven of Wands reversed is saying there's nothing here to protect. And the Magician reversed is saying there's nothing to do about it either. Sometimes the Magician upside down is saying, you know, like, manipulation or unscrupulous choices. Sometimes it's saying you may have the ability, but you don't have the resources. This, I feel like they're warning. Like, this is a time to better. It's going to serve you better if you don't. What is that? The Wise Women of Wonderland? Hiccups, for the love of Pete. I've been getting it with every water sign that I did. I got the hiccups every time. And I'm like, is it me? Or is it like... Because I'm fine until I sit down to do a reading. And usually hiccups and stuff like that, like, are talking about difficult, stressful energy. Wise Women of Wonderland, that's like knowing you could change the situation, but having the restraint to not. Because it's kind of like, I could fix this for somebody else, but they're not going to learn what they need to do. You know, I could get involved with this, but it's just going to make it easier for them and harder for me. And that's not right, and that's not fair. So that might be one of the bigger reasons not to get involved. Because it'll literally just make it harder for you. It will make it easier for them, but they're not learning what they need to learn. And sometimes you don't want to make it easier for other people, because especially if they had a hand in making it what it is, they should be cleaning up their own mess. I feel like Scorpio's on board with that. People who make the mess should clean up the mess. Because I feel like Scorpio does. When you make the mess, I feel like you do clean up the mess. And it should be the same for other people. When they make the mess, they need to clean up their own mess. You know? Holding back is very strong. Like, very, very, coming through very, very strong. Queen of Cups. And I'm a person, I read the Queen and King like neither oversees the other, neither controls the other. They both have equal power when I look at them. Together they can do a lot, but separately they're just as strong as the other. They have different ways of doing things sometimes. The Queen, the way I tend to read it, is more nurturing. And the King tends to be more like, you know, just what I can see in front of me is what I handle. I don't know why I'm telling you that, but there you go. I feel like there's a better way to handle this, and I can see more levels here, and I'm kind of feeling like it's better to not. Okay, that's not going to last forever, but there are people playing the poor me game here, which usually I don't, well, I know a few Scorpios. I don't think of them as being pulled into that game, but Scorpios do what Scorpios need to do, and Scorpios can play a very good poker hand. So even though I don't think they usually do it, doesn't mean that it doesn't happen for certain people. So if certain people can pull on your heartstrings, and they could be like, poor me, and you play into it, oh wait, maybe that does happen for certain people. I usually don't think of Scorpio as playing that game, though, but maybe certain people can pull that card with you. Because I feel like the Hungry Ghosts, the Nine of Swords, people are going, oh, Scorpio, I can't. Scorpio, help me. Scorpio. And they're pulling on your heartstrings. There's a moment here another moment going forward, in addition to the main one, there's another one going forward that you're going to have a moment to step in. You got the Emperor and you got the Fire Prince. It's going to look like the situation is going out of balance. It's going to look like something unfair is happening. That may or may not be the actual case, but I'm going to go back to that whole people who make the mess should clean up the mess. And you didn't make this mess is what I'm getting. But I can see you going, oh, okay, yeah, they made that mess, but that's not fair at how harsh this is becoming. But this is the world they live in. So you may be flat out right that whatever's the repercussions are way too harsh, and you may be completely flat out right, but this is the world they live in. And they need to understand that when they make these decisions, it's not just about, you made the mess, you clean up the mess. You not only may have to clean up the mess, but you might have to pay $50 per person. Or, you might have to do something beyond that that's kind of like, wait a minute, they put it all back. Yeah. It's almost like saying, maybe there was a party at a hotel, and then people got out of control, they wrecked the room. And you're like, yeah, they cleaned it all up, they paid for the furniture so it all could be restored, like, that should be enough. And they're like, no, they couldn't use that room for 2 weeks because of that. So now they're going to be charged, as if they rented that room for a full 2 weeks on top of everything else they did. And you're kind of like, well, I feel like that's not fair. I don't think they were fully booked. And like, you could argue back and forth with this. Let them clean up their own mess. Let them clean up their own mess is the advice. Because when this comes around, I feel like you're kind of like, this seems a little bit too harsh. You can give advice. Give advice is fine, but don't do it. So, like, for example, you're giving these people advice like, okay, I don't think you should have to pay for those 2 weeks. I would go see if I can find a lawyer. Here's the name of a lawyer. Let them pay for their own lawyer. Give them the name. Tell them they have to pay for it themselves. You can give them that part. That's fine. But don't pay for the lawyer, and don't get involved in the lawsuit. Don't try to fight it for them. You know what I mean? Don't try to call the hotel and try to work it out with them and find a different way to work out. Don't try to actually do that part yourself. Because the advice here is to like kind of step back and let it kind of like finish off. Because when it gets to this part where it seems like that second part where like it seems like it's getting a little bit too much, it's a little bit unfair, that it is near the end if you let them solve it themselves. If you don't let it solve themselves, if you don't have them solve it themselves, by you getting involved, it could take a whole nother cycle. It could go into a whole nother cycle, which I'm pretty sure you don't want. What does this say? The eyes of beauty. By letting them do it themselves, not only do they rectify it, it's pretty much close to the end if you let them do it themselves. It won't be that much longer before done is done and it's finished. But also, it's kind of also one of those things where, all right, Scorpio didn't think this was fair, and I agree. I don't think it was fair either. But now I know that I'm subject to these rules if I play this game. I may think, okay, I did that. It's fair if I do this, and that balances it out. But if other people don't agree and make me pay 3 times as much, I'm subject to somebody else's rules. I'm subject to the person's rules that owned the property. That's where this goes different. So they're learning what they need to learn from it. And they might actually have a more fast-tracked resolution. You might look back on your own life and be like, well, I had my time where I was like that. I had my time where I made decisions like that. I had my time where I made those type of mistakes. And they were never that harsh. It was never this harsh when I had to rectify it. And I did what I had to do. I paid my dues. True. It seems like now the stakes are higher. But also, the learning curve is a lot... like... I'm looking back at my own life. Maybe it's something that took me 10 years to figure out because it wasn't that harsh. The reprimands weren't that harsh, so it took me 10 years to figure it out. Nowadays, it's like you learn it in a year, maybe a couple months, because those reprimands are so harsh you don't ever want to do them again. So you learn really fast. So there's balance. It balances out in its own way. I'm not saying you're going to like it. I'm not saying it's even fair. I'm just saying you help them move on from this energy. You help them kind of rectify it and do better in the future by not doing it for them. Giving them advice is fine. Telling them how to do things and giving them names, but physically doing it yourself, getting the lawyer, paying for the lawyer, going or calling the hotel or showing the up at the hotel and trying to negotiate it differently, that's not helping them. You know what I mean? That's not helping them. It seems like it is, but it's really not. This situation is meant to rectify. Whatever this situation is, it is the end of it, one way or another. And the ultimate outcome is the King of Swords with the Queen of Cups and Gaia's garden. Gaia's. I think it's Gaia. Gaia. I feel like that's how I've had it. Words aren't working today. It's all good anyway. When all this is said and done, however this ended, I feel like there should be a legal component to it. It doesn't have to be, it's a general read, but there might be something in writing that finishes off the situation and puts it in the past. I don't know if this makes sense, but the way I keep getting it is it's almost like at the end, it's almost like an NDA, which I don't understand how that fits here. It doesn't make sense to me, but it's kind of like once it's done and then there's an agreement, there's no more talking about it, at least publicly. I almost feel like for some people, I don't know if this makes sense, but like once something is signed, it's like legally both people or parties, whatever, agree that neither party will talk about it on social media, and if they do, they're subject to financial repercussions. I mean, it's a general read, so wherever that hits. Is that I don't think that's really an NDA, but I keep thinking like something like an NDA, like same type of idea but different version of that type of idea. I don't know if that even makes sense. Because I see like afterwards is this weird, like it's going to be done. You seem to be fine. The history seems to be locked in the past. There's people who want to say stuff that like. So like, how do I explain this? If I'm going to make this really simple, Party A and Party B disagree. At the end of this whole thing, it was rectified. Party A and Party B agree that neither of them are allowed to talk about it on social media without the threat of financial repercussion. That doesn't mean that other people, like Party C, Party D, Party E, Party F, they might say stuff or want Party A and Party B and or to say stuff about it, but Party A and Party B can't. Doesn't mean other people won't, because they get the tower coming in over here and people trying to bring things forward. It does seem like there's this weird mess, but the fact that Party A and Party B won't talk about it afterwards, it does slow the spin of it. I don't know. This part's weird. I feel like this part's odd. I feel like they're giving you a heads up that there's like this, people aren't supposed to talk about it, and that people are making this agreement that on social media they won't. And if they do, repercussions. It doesn't mean other people will stop. So keep that in mind. I feel like it works out, but like, I would just ignore it if you can. And just leave it at that. Also, with the Gaia's garden, it does feel like everything works out fine. They're just warning about this last little piece that drags on at the end. It's just, they're saying if you just ignore it, it just kind of, it drowns itself out. The more people that play into it, the worse it gets, the longer it lives. Alright. I'm going to shut this down here. Hope that helps. Thank you for watching. If you'd like a direct reading from me, shoot me an email, jamesforastral@gmail.com. That's James, the number 4, astral@gmail.com. If you're interested in the donation information, that's below, same email. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.